G'day, just sort of opening up for another day and just thought I'd have a bit of a wander around the coupe. Breno got finished on repairing the dash yesterday, finished up on repairing the cowl where the vent delete was done, put down some etch primer and then scuffed that up, laid down some 2K primer, a couple of coats of that. So we'll just have a bit of a look. So we deleted quite a few holes that we weren't going to need in the dash. Plus what happens on these old girls is generally whenever somebody wants something fitted, they just drill another hole. Yeah, so that's all in primer, ready to block out. Cowl repairs all done, so that's also all in primer, ready to block out. And then the whole cowl panel will get repainted in the same, obviously in the same body color because we're keeping everything original. Yeah, another day. Let's get into it. And Brendan's in there just shooting a bit of primer after he repaired the dash on the 37 coupe. And I've just got the Chevy pickup masked off to get some primer on the firewall tomorrow morning. Had an early start and only a couple of little jobs, but we've got the radiator hoses on. Had to make up that dash 20 hose that goes from the coolant reservoir. That one fills the radiator up through that big sucker there. Got the top hose on. Oh, what do you call these things? Got the Hydro Boost on for the braking system. Got the little clutch master cylinder there. That's all fitted up. Oh, tripping over stuff. Got door handles working right now. Got an air conditioning compressor sitting there that I've got to get mounted onto the motor. It's a little bit dark in here, sorry about that, but managed to get the brake and clutch pedal assemblies all finished there as well. So they all work well. Just had to do a bit of messing around with the ratios to get the pedal strokes all right. This steering column setup, just made that, and the engineer was happy enough with it because I put a collapsible section in the engine bay, plus a bit of an old school race car thing. If you have a couple of uni joints offset to each other, in the event of a big accident, they'll tend to fold away from each other anyway. We machined up our own boss there to accept the old school sort of hot roddy style steering wheel. That'll end up pretty cool. It's the next day here. Welcome back. We got heap done yesterday, so might just have a bit of a start of you know, checking that out, see where we got to. So keeping in mind there is a budget, you know, with this truck, because it's basically a full build, you know, using a painted cab and panels. Pretty much everything else is brand new, so you know, the money runs away pretty quick. So that firewall was just repaired, epoxy primed, wrapped coated all underneath. We got our new lower steering column mount in yesterday, brake booster and master cylinder assembled. We got all the floor sound deadened, all the roofs all sound deadened. We got the steering column in, steering column mount up there under the dash fitted. We got the brake pedal assembly mocked up. I'm just about to move on to the accelerator pedal now. So yeah, full steam ahead on that one. We've got to coordinate with a couple of other trades, so it's kind of jumped forward a couple of spots because we've got the auto electrician working on the 37 coupe soon, and we'd like this one to be sort of underway in the background with him at the same time. So yeah, sometimes you just got to change a couple of plans on the fly and roll with the punches. So just about to mount the gas pedal in the 48 truck. We just buy these throttle pedals ready to go. The only thing, there is a little bit of a flaw in the design. They sort of need to be raised up off the floor a little bit, otherwise just the geometry and the angle with your foot just doesn't feel real good. So just got to make up a little bracket now which will hold that and raise it up off the floor at the same time. Alright, so we've got our little pedestal made up there which will hold the accelerator pedal, and that'll bolt up to the firewall. Bit hard to see, but basically what that does is allows the pedal to sort of rock down nicely and be comfortable underfoot. It's mainly because of that slope on the firewall that's on these older cars. It just works out a little bit better. Anyway, keep pushing. So Scoot's just putting the front fenders on for a bit of a mock-up. And we'll have to make the radiator support panel. That pretty much sets the front of these things. I got the seats all in there yesterday afternoon. The rest of the sound deadening and everything up the firewall's all done. And this morning I've just been making some carpeted infill panels just to fill in everything around the seats so there's no ugly sheet metal left to see. It's going to be real good. G'day again. So that week just absolutely flew by. It's Saturday in the workshop again. Got some work to do on the Chevy truck today, sort of picking up from where I left off last weekend. Got to make some lock rods and some door handle rods for the inside of the doors. Pretty basic, just some rod ends, and we'll work out sort of how we're going to join them A to B as we go. We'll have a bit of a look at sort of where we finished up on Friday. So Matt and Tracy's Chevy truck, we ended up just having to shorten a little bit off the frame horns on the Holden chassis just to sort of fit in with the Chevy grille after we did a mock-up on the fenders and the front end last week. All in all though, sort of at the start of the week we had the cab off to paint and seal firewall and underneath, plus all the inside, and that's all back on to stay on now, so yeah, that cab won't have to come off anymore. Got a fair bit of the interior put together. I had to make up all the MDF panels and all the carpeting and everything inside. Obviously it's black inside, so it's a bit hard to see, but it's all panelled and carpeted out inside now. Made up some really nice little dress panels to fill in by the seats. Did these custom scuff plates down the sides to hold the carpet all in place and sort of stop, you know, nicking things as you get in and out. Let's get around to the other side. So yeah, some nice new pedals, nice new steering. It's all come along really good. Bit hard to have a look at the coupe, but it's been quite a bit of work done on the firewall and the cowl, just getting ready for some final body colour, and then we're on to fully assembling that car, get ready for the Auto Sparky. But yeah, as most Saturdays are, it's all about this one today. Just keep on going, trying to catch up and stay ahead of Brendan, and yeah, start fitting out the inside. Okay friends, well, we're going to celebrate a small win here. It's about 3 hours work this morning, but we finally have a functional passenger side inside door handle. So there was a lot of messing around trying to get the ratios between the inner and the outer door handle to work together. When I made the brackets, I multi-holed the brackets because I kind of thought that was going to be a thing. Well, it turned out to absolutely be a thing. So I'll get the camera inside the door and show you, you know, what we came up with and the hurdles along the way. So that's the door lock mechanism. That's the original 1948 mechanism that Holden used. That was in an absolute mess, so had to rebuild that to even get started. And then that top part, I made that and then sort of multi-holed it, knowing that the ratio between there and the linkage down the bottom that we had to make probably wasn't going to be 1-to-1, and then running forward up to the actual door handle, that door handle actually operates on a lot shorter rotation than all the other mechanisms, so took quite a bit of messing around to get that door handle to talk to this door handle. So hopefully, let's give it a go. Yes. We have functioning door handles. Yeah, you wouldn't think that would be that big a deal, but when you can't buy parts for a 1948 truck, I'm absolutely stoked that we've been able to make all that work, because yeah, didn't really consider it. We thought we'd bought all this stuff brand new, but it turns out that there's a massive difference between the cabs. So you can see that striker assembly there, and our door catch sticks through the back of the door. Whereas if we head over to a genuine American cab, the cab is actually recessed with a completely different design catch. Unfortunately, back when we tore our truck down, we didn't have anything to reference it by. So I just made the assumption that 1948 Chev was 1948 Chev. Way wrong. Well, it's many days later. We've been flying through the new week. Just getting the shop and everything open first thing this morning. It's pretty early here. Absolutely scorching week here. Well, 38 degrees I guess most days. Guess that's not like a full-on scorcher, but yeah, definitely warm, and we're pretty keen for some cooler weather. Makes life a lot easier in the workshop. We'll go down and we'll have a bit of a look at what's been going on. Wrapped up an engine in the engine room there towards the end of last week, and been pushing on with the 48 truck, or mostly Scooter has. I've been back on the Pro Buggy, getting some plumbing work done, some gearbox mounts, and basically just working from the rear bumper forward methodically, trying to get as much stuff in the car before we make the decision to break it down and get some powder coat on. So let's go and check it out. So yeah, like I said, on the Pro car, just been doing the dash 20 lines up to the radiator. Got that one there made and mounted yesterday. I'm just going to probably take this fitting off and just add about 20 mil in there just to take a bit of tension off the hose. It fits and it's comfortable, but yeah, I don't know, I'd just like a little bit more flex there. Doing some lower bell housing mounts on the transmission. Made them out of chromoly plate yesterday. Got them both made, just got to make the tabs and get them on the frame. So yeah, not exactly like leaps and bounds, but this stuff just takes so long. So, you know, there's 3 days worth of work in those transmission mounts and water pipes and machining up bungs to mount to the chassis and keep everything, you know, tied up and neat. You know, maybe you could do it faster if you didn't really care about the outcome, but that's not what it's about here. We want it to be, you know, we want every part made for the car to be the last part that gets made. You know, it should last for absolutely years and years, season after season, and should just keep on trucking. Alright, so Scooter has been yeah, kicking butt on this one. So you got the front end mocked up on the truck. And then set about making a radiator support panel cross member to pick up the frame horns on the Holden chassis, and he finished that yesterday afternoon. Everything's all welded out, so now we've got to get some black paint on that cross member, and those front end parts can go together to stay together. Some of these sheet metal parts will get broken down and sent out to powder coat for some nice gloss black, but you can't deny that they're a pretty classy old truck. And when you add that stainless steel grille in the front, they look absolutely amazing. Anyway, that's enough sort of walking around not getting anything done. It's time to rip in. Oh, so it's been a few more days. It's actually Sunday. Wasn't really up for it yesterday after a really hot week. I was pretty burnt out, to be honest. So just in here on a Sunday, tidying up a few little things, just sort of setting us up for Monday. So on the 48 truck, we actually got the front end set up and mocked up there towards the end of last week. We got a cross member made up to support the original radiator support panel, because in these old trucks that pretty much sets the tone for the entire front end. You can do away with it all, but it is definitely a bit faster to leave it all in there if we can. The inner fenders had to be refitted. They had some rust repairs and some tidy up work done when the truck was torn down, because it was an absolute hack job where they'd cut for the Camaro front end that actually was in this truck previous, and that was just a disaster and an absolute death trap. So anyway, cruising along. The biggest thing which I knew was going to be an issue, obviously because we've got a left-hand drive Mustang rack so that we can retain the left-hand drive dash, was getting the steering shaft up to the steering column. So I had to fabricate this fairly elaborate bracket, do a whole heap of weld-in inserts into the chassis, because this bracket has to be absolutely rigid to the max, just in case there's ever a power steering failure and there is actually full load on that steering. So when you use these double cardinal style joints to get angle, they have to be supported through a tube so that the shaft can't do this. So I've got that first one made up there. I'll sink a grease zerk into that so that we can keep it lubed. The machined up silicon bronze bushes for that, so that all runs through silicon bronze. And then I've got to make up another one of those brackets on this lower half so that this primary shaft can't walk around either. So there's a bit to it, but I reckon the first one was probably the hardest one, and getting the shafts to the right length and things like that. So I'll get into that Monday and get that finished off. You've seen the interior, so we've just got the centerpiece out at the moment, because the shifter's going to get mounted in there Monday or Tuesday. We've got the glass going back in that on Wednesday, and also the doors, so that we can have that cab sealed up while it's sitting around. I also got quite a bit done on the Pro Buggy last week. I'd say probably 3 solid days on that. Getting some more plumbing work done, some bell housing mounts made to support the underside of the gearbox, and then started working on some torque rod mounts up in the frame just to take any remaining sort of twist and throw out of the engine movement under torque and load. Really don't think that potentially would have been an issue. I've got gearbox mounts hung off this thing everywhere. You know, the amount of torque and power these engines make now really does put all those engine mounts to the test. And like I've always said, everything's good until you ask it all to come to a sudden stop in an accident, and then the whole lot's just trying to break out. So better be safe than sorry and make it extremely strong. I've got a little clip of sort of where I got up to, so I'm just going to post that up now. And then that brings me to today's job. So managed to get the air conditioner compressor mounted down there in the Chevy truck, but what we need to do is mount a really wide idler in between these two so that we can achieve some really good belt wrap around both the air conditioner compressor and the alternator. We'll replace that alternator, but we're just using it there for mock-up. So that's the Sunday mission today. Just got to press on and do as much stuff as I can before it heads off to the paint shop. Alright, well, time to jump on the lathe and machine up some bracketry to hold that idler pulley, and we'll get that mounted. Alright, so So we've got that bit of shaft machined down with that idler pulley sitting on it really nicely. So now we need to punch a hole straight through that. So it's a little bit hard to see. We'll sneak down in there. Okay, so that's our wide idler. That way the belt can wrap around the back side of that idler, come back up around the alternator and across to that idler. That's just a large idler. The water pump's actually mechanically driven on these. So yeah, that didn't take very long at all and will work really well. The only thing I've got to get is a longer 12mm bolt, because that one's a bit on the short side. One little job down for a Sunday, move on to the next. So this is what I actually came into work on today. This is a little 253 that I've built for a HJ Monaro that I'm restoring for myself, which takes me back to memories of my second car when I was a youngster. So this is a pretty handy 253. It's about 11:1 compression, big camshaft, a few other little tricks, some nice ported cylinder heads, but what I don't want is chrome valve covers. So I've got these adapters here and I'm just modifying a set of original steel valve covers because I would like it to look relatively Holden when we open the bonnet, and I'm just not a fan of the whole eBay chrome rocker cover thing. So they're just on there to seal it up for now. We'll do some work now and see what we come up with. So I've got a set of original rocker covers here that I've just sandblasted in the sandblasting cabinet. And what we're going to do, which I've done before, we're going to weld up the original holes, weld in some AN breathers, and do away with the factory style oil filler cap and put on a nice screw-on O-ring sealed cap. So we'll get into that now. So that's our Holden valve covers with a speed flow 1.5 inch neck welded into the top. That'll actually be swapped over so that it's at the back of the engine, closer to the firewall. And then we've got our dash 8 welded in the front. That's really high up in that corner, away from the throw of the rocker. Running 120-degree fitting on there. You don't really have any issues with oil going down the breather hose. Got the hole welded up at the back. Just got to metal finish that now. Once I'm done, I'll put it back in the sandblaster, sandblast it all up, and I might take them home and shoot some Holden Red on them, I reckon. Should be good. So just gave the spacer plates a good sandblast because we want to paint them red so they blend in with the valve covers. Gave the valve covers another good blast so that the burn through from the welding doesn't stop the paint from sticking. So we'll give them a really good blow off with some air now, and yeah, take them home and probably give them a couple of coats of VHT at home, I think. It turns out I actually had a can of VHT in stock, so might as well give them a coat or two at least before we take off, and then they'll be ready to put on Monday. So just took the chromies off the top of the 253. As you can see, nice roller rocker package, adjustables, Crow valve spring,
package and retainers. Yeah, some pretty decent gear in this little motor actually. I wanted to stick with the 253 and the 4-speed because that's what came out in the car. It's a fully optioned GDS, so power steering, air conditioning, pretty much any box that they could tick back in the 70s. This particular car's got it all, so yeah, this will be a nice little addition. Reliable as, it'll sound the business, and that carby has already had a metering rod and jetting set up put in it when it was rebuilt based on the camshaft and the engine specs. Hume Performance took care of that for us. They've done quite a few now. They've also added the electric choke conversion to the Rochester. We still believe that the Rochies, if they're set up properly, are probably one of the best carbies you can put on a Holden V8. Well, I reckon that's going to do it for me. Just give this thing a hose off and I'm out of here. So have a good week. Well, actually the rest of your weekend. There's about 4 hours left of it, and yeah, we'll be back into it next week.